So here we are. So we just finished the rise of Hitler. We've identified how he secured power. We identified how he consolidated power. I hope I've done a good enough job to show you that through Mein Kampf, they're going to create a series of enemies of states, anti-Semitism, anti-Roma, which anti-homosexuality, anti any of these elements, anybody they can marginalize. And now we're just going to continue to see how he pushed through. Hitler's going to use propaganda to convince Germans of their progress. Here you see a piece of propaganda that shows Hitler's powerful, carrying the Nazi flag. You have the eagle behind him, showing power. And really, the illustration of power, leisure time, and wealth convinced ordinary Germans that Hitler was in the right path. By removing the mongrels, more economic opportunities became available for the average German. It's almost as if, yes, my Jewish best friend may have been gone, but hey, I have a better job now. I have more opportunities. Maybe this Aryanism isn't wrong. And I want to point out that the propaganda is really going to be about like the Autobahn, this systematic, this great highway system, and these great economic booms. I want to point out that most of those stuff happened before Hitler gained power, at least began. But the economic recovery that began under the Weimar Republic is going to be claimed by Hitler as his own. These are my plans. These are my greatness. These are mine. And people, regardless of truth, accepted him on his word. We see here the Nazis are going to liberate women. Well, what is the liberated woman? The liberated woman is liberated from feminism. We're not going to be that modern woman anymore. That modern woman had undermined the German values. Think about it as you've read The Dollhouse. Remember, The Dollhouse was forced to change its ending because no German mother would ever do what Nora did. And Ibsen did change the ending. And again, that's before all this. That's in the 1880s that he did that. But now all of a sudden, this German paradigm, the idea of what a German good woman is, Nazi leadership undid most of the legislation that allowed for abortion and other women's rights. They are now going to be like, hey, what is a real woman? Propaganda is going to discourage women from holding jobs and seeking higher education. And the ideal of domesticity was preached as the truth for women. Here we see a piece of propaganda from your textbook. Let's talk about before we talk about the cross, let's talk about that image. That image is of a baby breastfeeding. And the idea is this is what a real German woman does. She sacrifices for the family. She provides the care and love for the family while the man is out there working. You see the man in the background working hard. Well, let's talk about the cross. That German Nazi cross right there is for women who had multiple children. And women are going to be rewarded because Hitler is convincing them that really the decrease in birth rate is what's caused the disruption of our German greatness. And now, for us to be the great Aryan nation of Volk that will lead us out, we need this real woman. And women should marry young and have lots of babies. The Nazis are going to continue to create this sense of this environment of excitement. This Volksturmstraße, I can't say that, but it's the people's machine, the people's community. We are all part of the idea of this greatness. We see this, the ideas here of the idea of how we can move forward. We see this idea of the Nuremberg rallies. The Nuremberg rallies were these areas, these ginormous. Nuremberg had a soccer stadium in which thousands of people would come, and they would act in unison as Hitler and the other Nazis laid it out. The Nuremberg rallies became the center for Nazi propaganda. Hitler Youth, as we've already talked about, they became the Boy Scouts of the era. The idea in which they were going to sacrifice their lives. When I say the Boy Scouts, not disparaging Boy Scouts at all, But the Boy Scouts in America. Yes, they're a nationalistic a group, but Hitler Youth is going to take those ideals and put them on steroids. Now Hitler Youth is going to be preaching Aryanism, mass leisure. Hey, we're going to provide you activities. They're going to have May Day celebrations. There's going to be a sense of excitement. They're going to exclude the Jews, Roma, and other undesirables, and that this exclusion has provided to be economically beneficial. So here we see a map or a propaganda here of a politician joining together with the labor, with the proletariat to the right, the farmers to the left, and we're now working together to make it great. So by 1938, Hitler had established a single party dictatorship with unquestioned leadership. He had convinced people that only he, the Führer, had the vision for a new Germany. He marginalized the undesirable, so Germany had a plethora of enemies of the state to blame for economic downturns and other issues. Utilized propaganda to reshape German society based on Aryan ideology. And in the end, he's preparing Germany to go into war and eventual devastation. I like this poster here. It really resembles, you see Hitler here, creating a mythical character. You see strength, you see power, and you have one people, one empire, one leader. That's what that says in German. One people, one empire, one leader. Propaganda convincing people that Hitler alone. And I'm hoping that makes sense. I will be in class